What is up, my friends? Welcome to this video. This video is, yes, the follow-up to the XRP Ripple conspiracy video. And yes, we're going to be talking about price. Yes, we're going to be talking about market cap. Yes, we're going to be deep diving quite a bit. First off, that video, thank you so much for all the support, by the way. The views were great, and the feedback that I got, because I read most of the comments, was anywhere from, Jay, you're such an idiot. I can't believe you're so stupid. Go kill yourself. To a little bit nicer, which was amazing video up until you opened your mouth about your opinion, to a layer of even nicer comments, which went into like the depths of supply and demand, deflation, conversations, those sorts of things, which is the harder part of the conversation to really talk about, because we can play devil's advocate and go both ways with it. And so that is the point of this video. I want to present both sides of the market cap conversation from my perspective, and some of the things that I've been able to dig up, and really I wanted to take my time with this after that first video, and so I could hopefully clearly articulate what I was thinking, what I was feeling when I shot that. So if you haven't seen that video, or you don't know what I'm talking about, you can go ahead and watch it. I think it's a lot of great information and piecing together a storyline that I don't think a lot of people know about, all in one place. Anyways, at the end of the video, I gave my opinion about what I thought, and I said that I feel that if this is run and managed by the bankers like it appears to be, and if they are going to roll this out as a global currency, which seems to be a popular conversation and a popular theory, that it would be in their best interest to keep the price low or easily divisible. And part of that was from the standpoint of just simple math. People like round numbers. And so when we kind of divvy up the Satoshi marks, it's easily divisible. Kind of like back in the gold back standard, we were dealing with ounces and grams and things like that. For the most part, you want it to be easily divisible, right, on your working numbers. And then also too, another big reason that I quoted is that it's not in a bank's interest, it's not in a government's interest, it's not in the Federal Reserve's best interest to let its citizens get rich. This does have some positive effects on GDP, naturally. We see this proved with something like remittance, where money is sent over long distances from country to country between Mexico and the United States. It does stimulate GDP. It also helps with inner household poverty problems and things like that, right? But we do have something working against us all the time, which is inflation, okay? So that's where I want to go after I kind of present the core idea here, which is that in the main argument I think people have against what I said is that the market cap doesn't support a global initiative. It can't possibly support a global initiative with the size of the market cap, 13 billion today. Yes and no. So let's quickly, before we talk about supply and price and all that, let's quickly look at Visa. Visa is 348 billion for today. MasterCard, 235 billion today. This is the overall market cap. PayPal, 120 billion today. American Express, 92 billion today. The other two I wanted to point out was Western Union, 7 billion, and PayPal, 120 billion. Green Dot's a fairly big player, 3.2 billion. MoneyGram, 125 million. So even right now, one could argue that it is in alignment with other key players, market cap size, to actually do something. But people didn't like the below $1 comments that I made, and you know what? Here, let me just make this statement again. I'm completely okay with being wrong. I've changed my opinion as more information has been presented to me. In fact, sitting here right now, I don't even know if I feel as confident in my previous opinion that XRP will be the global currency. It might not even roll out that way. There might actually be a series of stable coins that roll out country to country, and then XRP plays a role just as much as other cryptocurrencies do. I think overall the entire cryptocurrency market will shrink considerably from thousands of altcoins and thousands of coins to a very small number, probably less than 1,000, definitely more likely less than 500. I think 100 would be probably fine altogether. So now that you've seen that it is a player right now, there's total supply of 100 billion. So at $1 price point, that's $100 billion total supply, and circulating is 41 billion. So that'd be 41 billion circulating right now. Would that be enough to take over a global market in a dual currency system, or in a currency system that maybe even invites back in something gold backed? It would actually. Now, all on its own without fiat, no. It does not. But what we're dealing with right now is, and I hope you guys understand this, is we are dealing with something that we've never seen before. What I mean by that is we could easily keep fiat and change that to maybe even gold backed, so it becomes a deflationary currency, and invite in a cryptocurrency, or invite in a plethora of cryptocurrencies and start to phase out the dollar. Maybe gold is involved in some of this, maybe it's not, because a lot of these cryptocurrencies are innately deflationary. Because why? They have a available supply. You cannot add more to it. So to quickly deal with people who don't know this already, XRP, there's no way to just add in more. 100 billion is the max that they can do. There's no lines of code that says you can create more. It's coded into the software specifically. So this was answered by David Schwartz back in November of 2017. Now, there have been some interesting things happen with these mysterious wallet addresses. That's definitely gone on. And I don't know about you guys, but I've seen price predictions based on different math and models of $1,000 and $10,000 as well, which both of those could be entirely possible. And I might, like I said, be completely wrong with some of my line of thought, which I would be okay with. So let's pause this conversation and come over and talk about inflation and deflation. Inflation, we keep printing money. Quantitative easing, fractional reserve banking, that's what we've got right now with the United States dollar and most G20 countries that have federal banking, central banking for that matter. They have to think of it like a really ADD kid who just cannot stop. Maybe you gave him sugar on accident, maybe you gave him caffeine or coffee or something, and he's like, for 3 hours, time just stops and all he remembers is running around and bouncing off the walls. That is inflation. That is the model we have right now. And God forbid the kid comes down off the caffeine. Well, God forbid the spending stops or slows down because the printing is so high. So the whole model is being propped up by just consumerism. And so if that were to ever stop, that's like if the kid were to ever come down off the caffeine, as soon as he comes crashing down, then that would be a very unexpected deflationary event, right? Which would probably, yes, cause a recession because it's not expected. But now let's rewind back in time to a gold-backed dollar. Well, people knew that there was a limited supply, meant it is a deflationary currency, and so they expected the supply to go down over time. Now, not only is there a total available supply with Ripple, as same with Bitcoin and many others, but Ripple takes the transaction fees and doesn't pay them to the validators or anything like that. They burn that. So it is, from a supply and demand standpoint, it is a very rich environment, okay? And so over time, there will be a smaller and smaller supply, besides the amount of coins that are wrapped up, which I've seen that pretty common. I think I'll end up shooting a video with big misconceptions around Ripple. So I dove into that one as well, which is essentially, what if they're just pumping and dumping this? You got to understand is that they would essentially, in layman's terms, be pumping and dumping back onto themselves, excuse me, not onto themselves, but back onto the market itself. It would be very, very hard to do that. Also, too, we wouldn't see the price is stagnant as it's been, even in light of Coinbase listing and all kinds of amazing, great news around Ripple, more adoption. That would not be happening. They would be trying to pump up the coin value, okay? Also, too, with the rules and everything that they've got, they wouldn't be able to just drop that 55 billion that they got wrapped up onto the market as well. Okay, also another key point is people brought up, hey, they brought up the pump and dump aspects of the coin itself, which it would be very hard for the inner team to do that, as it is in any market to do that. We've seen manipulation happen in metals. I think that's a little bit different because of all the additional institutional tools that are on top of that with ETFs, with futures, and everything else that exists, the way that the custodianship works and the way that there's essentially a aspect of fractional reserve brought into gold and silver that makes it pretty ripe, even with all the rules and regulation to manipulate that. Ripple's a little bit different with the bylaws and everything, and a 55 billion that's in escrow. They can't just dump that on the market. Also, too, they would be pumping and dumping back on the people, back on the market itself. So it'd make it extremely hard with how things are now. That might change in the future, which would make it easier, I guess, to pump and dump. I don't know. That's not what we're talking about here. But let's get back to inflation and deflation. So deflation means negative interest, okay, below zero, which I brought up the fact that, you know, the IMF is talking about below zero. There's a ton of economists talking about below zero. And the reason why people equate deflation as a bad thing is because when you're in an inflation economy and then you get deflation, yes, that means that's bad. That means the money is stopped, dried up, the spending is stopped, and the supply and demand curve has shifted. Part of me believes that just like how we balance out our own lives and we balance out our own money, supply supply and demand should be kind of the natural scale that we operate off of. So a deflationary currency, even though it was around in the 1930s during the Great Depression, I don't have all the details and the supporting evidence and things that happened in that market. So yes, that was a deflationary market. With a deflationary currency, I don't have enough information to speak definitively on that. That doesn't prove that deflationary currencies don't work, obviously, and it doesn't then mean that inflation is the way to go either. Inflation, I think, is a model that's not working. And back when 2007 to 2009 recession happened, I believe that instead of a bailout, they should have just let that fall apart. So, okay, so now let's look at the purchasing power and how that's been sucked dry out of the dollar. So the same dollar, you got the fiat in your pocket, it's $1 printed on the bill, right? Should be $1. In 1919, that was worth $1 was $1, okay? In 2019, that same item would cost $14.61. That is a inflation, a cumulative inflation of 1,361%. Just let that sink in for a second. That is also why when bottled water got really popular, everything was a fucking dollar. But now you go to LAX, you go to airports, and that shit is $3 to $5 for the same bottle of water that used to cost $1. That is inflation. So obviously the fiat system is not working, and I'm fascinated to really think about what they're going to do next and how they're going to kind of shift this thing with $22 trillion in debt in the United States, many bubbles forming with Social Security, with student debt bubbles, with just government debt as well, personal debt, credit debt. All that seems to be mounting pretty quickly and not many places for it to go. So they're still in the rat wheel of printing their way out of it, which requires consumerism, which also you notice what's on the rise just in the United States is a new Apple phone every year that's getting released. It never used to be like that. A new Samsung every year. Hawaii is now also in there, and they've got new phones. 4G is not enough. Now we need 5G, then 6G, then 10G, then 1 million G. And so everything is just sped up, and all of that's done to support this rat race model, which is an inflation model. It's literally like you're running down the street and the wind is pushing your last dollar down the street and you're chasing after it because God forbid you need that dollar to eat. That is what this creates. Now, a deflationary currency does not create that. It goes up in value over time, which Ripple, no matter what, will go up in value over time. And that is a positive argument here with Ripple, is that, look, there isn't other cryptocurrency with a total available supply of 100 billion that's been around long enough to really see where's the bell curve of when the supply and demand tips and it starts to really build in value. That hasn't happened up until this point. We've got Bitcoin, and we've seen how that's gone up in value, and also too, it was the first, so it's got the first advantage, and it's got a smaller overall supply and circulating supply, and we haven't seen one with this big of a circulating supply and what could really happen to it. So that, I think, is very positive for Ripple and a positive argument, I guess, for just holding it, right? Let's dive into this deflationary currency just a little bit more. What I wanted to point out is we've had this before with gold-backed dollars. The country was running off of that before, okay? Let's compare some metrics. Total circulating supply of gold is somewhere between 187,000 tons and 193,000 tons. That's based on all the available numbers that are out there. Yes, there are conspiracy theories that there's a ton of gold everywhere and that they're lying about it, and it's because they need to keep the supply and demand curve going, because otherwise nobody would care and it would just drop in value. Just like there's stories going on about Ripple and hidden wallets and things like that. So you always have theories and conspiracy theories, I guess to call them, with any sort of commodity or currency, right? And so that's the total amount mined, and almost all of that is the amount that's been on this planet or assumed to have been on this planet the whole time, so it just keeps getting recycled. And so much in the same way that we operate in 1 ounce increments of gold, and that equals a certain Satoshi mark or decimal point of tons, you could look at it the same way with how a cryptocurrency, or how a cryptocurrency like Ripple would work to back something or be a global currency. Now, again, I haven't gone deep down into this to compare the numbers on a deeper level to see what that price could could be or should be. You could do this though, and I would invite you to. I'd love to see this data. So you'd go back into the time, which years that there was a gold-backed dollar, and what was the cost per ounce of gold versus the total overall circulating supply, and trying to extrapolate a model and use that to compare that up against Ripple and what that is currently today. Again, I will say that I think in comparison to early 1900s, all the way up until 1971, when we removed the gold-backed standard, we're in a much different game now. The way I see it is we could go with like one big dominant crypto, and I think that XRP is definitely at the front of that game. Or we could go with multiple countries, or all countries, at least the G countries, the G20s, right, which are the top countries, doing a stable coin of their own, and then Ripple playing some sort of role in that. You got to understand is that one of the arguments to using a crypto as a global currency is that it's too volatile, right? The volatility is too high. Well, look at Ripple. It transacts on average of 4 seconds. It's so fast that the volatility really doesn't matter. And depending on how that's getting sent, whether it's through XRapid or just Ripple itself, I think that's really a strong argument against that volatility debate, right? For Ripple to be a big player. Ripple also too, it has some familiarity with banking, with the 20 Ripple minimum for an account balance and things like that. It reminds you of a checking and savings account. Also too, the strong banking connections that they have on their team, with relationships, Bill Clinton speaking at the Swell conference, all these different pieces make it undeniable that they are a big player. To what degree, I don't know. So let's look at price action itself. I know this is extremely frustrating for Ripple holders because the pinnacle, right? Like the crescendo moment, I think for a lot of them were, let's get a Coinbase listing and it's going to go to the moon. And I think there is a difference between like holders and serious Ripple enthusiasts and let's call them moon boys, which they're holding bags on certain cryptocurrencies and they just want it to moon so that they can make money. And so moon boys thought this, and I think a lot of holders thought this as well. We'll get that Coinbase listing, we'll at least get a little pump. Maybe that'll break us out of this slow kind of channel that we've been in since December, which is this 30-cent zone. Let's get out of that. Let's break out of that. Well, here it was February 25th, and Coinbase lists XRP. I've got a little stakeholder here, and we did not see that. We have not seen that. So I'm on a one-day chart. That's why there's not so many. And it's been in this since about the beginning of the year. So where does 30 cents start? 30 cents starts there. So about December, mid-December, it's been in this 30-cent channel, just up and down in that, which it does make it, you know, more stable, I guess, from an XRP standpoint. But the future of XRP, I think, is extremely bright. From a holding standpoint, is it going to moon standpoint? I don't know. I guess if you really wanted to figure that out, then you could come up with your own sort of financial model and use the gold silver deflationary currency that operated before, as I think that'd be a great tool to use. You could also use Bitcoin and its history as part of that model as well. Again, adjusting for the differences in available supply. But I hope that helps with a lot of people who had questions and a lot of people who obviously disagreed with my previous statements. I hope that not only we've clarified that, but hopefully given you some more insight and things to think about for yourself to maybe research and start looking into. The beautiful thing I will say about cryptocurrencies as a whole is I started this channel just for solo cryptocurrency talk, and it was all about documenting my journey with crypto. When I started, that was really the first time I'd gotten into investing in this sort of way, and I can admit I was a complete idiot. And I still think that, you know, I've got a ton to learn. I'm not set in my ways at all. But from then till now, holy cow, completely different person. And I've learned so much about economics. I've learned about monetary policy. I've learned about politics, even though maybe I didn't want to learn that. But I've learned a lot more about money and the importance of money and understanding how basic things like compound interest and inflation work so that I can make better decisions with my money and with my wealth. And that, I think, is like the biggest takeaway out of cryptocurrency, is that even if crypto were to go away tomorrow, we all have that. And so these little rabbit holes that I would have never gone down, I've now gone down to the fullest depth of some of them, you know, and really gotten to understand different ways of looking at, you know, looking at my money and looking at the world, which I think that in and of itself is absolutely amazing. So I'd love to hear your comments below, what you think about this video. I know I didn't give you an exact price target because I don't have one. I think so many different arguments that are out there could be true, and I'm willing to be wrong about my previous comments and price estimates on what I thought it would do, and I guess time will tell the rest. I'm going to obviously be digging down some more rabbit holes that I think would help fill some of the gaps for myself and my understanding, and maybe I'll shoot some additional videos. I do want to shoot an additional video about some misunderstandings about Ripple and talk more about that, and I'm obviously going to be talking about more about inflation and deflation topics, as well as which represent Austrian and Keynesian economic theory. We'll go from there. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like this video, just show us some support. Click the thumbs up button. It does so much for the channel, you have no idea. And if you're brand new and you've obviously taken a look around at the channel, what kind of content we make, this is it. We make crypto stuff, we make economic stuff, we talk about money, finance, all the stuff that's going to help you be a better person. If you dig that and you want more, click the subscribe button, hit the bell notification so that you get more alerts to your inbox. Be on the lookout, my friends. More videos dropping soon. Bye.